So, welcome everyone to the Women Who Lead series, and thank you for joining us. And today I'm so excited to feature three outstanding women whose passion for championing diversity initiatives makes them stand out as leaders in the real estate industry, with a focus on helping companies become more ADA accessible, to creating awareness for the AAPI community and promoting homeownership growth, to creating a diverse and inclusive workplace. Each of these leaders is determined to make a difference within their organizations and the communities they serve. My name is Teresa Palacios Smith, and I'm Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Home Services of America and HSF affiliates. And my family is originally from Colombia, South America. And when we get together with friends and family, we always ask, ¿Quieres un cafecito? Which translates to, would you sit down and have a cup of coffee with us? Because having that coffee and also that break means that we're getting together and getting to know each other better. Our special guest, I'm so excited today, are the diversity champions. So let me get started. And with me today is Dionne Cuello, who's the Senior Vice President for the Diverse Market Segments at Citi. And she focuses on growing multicultural markets, their client base, and also better serving the clients. And they do that through the responsibility of development and of internal and external relationships with strategic markets and the diverse realtor organizations. And that's how we met. Dionne was actually, I think, at ARIA. She oversees marketing initiatives and diverse sales tactics to cultivate relationships with realtors, housing nonprofit organizations, affordable housing developers, and consumers. And I think one of the coolest thing is I know that you've served on numerous executive board positions for national and local realtor trade organizations, including, again, ARIA, which is how I've got to know you really well. And I'm excited that you're on the show. And she also has a realtor's license for the state of Texas. I didn't know you had your real estate license, Dionne, so that was new to me. So she really understands that dynamic from both a lending and realtor structure. So welcome to the show, Dionne.
Thank you.
And then also Stacy Durbin. Stacy is the Senior Vice President and General Sales Manager for Seminole Realtors, located in the heart of Louisville, Kentucky, with over 100-year history. Stacy has over 20 years of experience in real estate, starting her career as an agent in 2019. And then, no, I think it was a little bit earlier. And then you accepted the position that you currently have. She's oversees the management, operations, marketing, the sales of the region's largest leading real estate brokerage. Stacy has served on the board for Habitat for Humanity of the Metro Louisville for 4 years, and has helped organize and participate in multiple area home builds for the nonprofit. And she also has been a member of the MSI, which is the Metro Search Incorporated board, since 2019, and is slated to be president in 2024. So how exciting that is, Stacy. Welcome to the show. And I know you're very, very excited and also passionate about D&I initiatives within your company. So again, we're excited that you're on the show.
Thanks.
And then Kathleen Lappe. Kathleen is the founder of CEO Direct Offer, which is an ADA compliant application lead generation tool for the real estate agent and listings that help young adults with limitations like autism be able to navigate agent websites and listings better. Kathleen has founded several startups and is passionate about entrepreneurship. She is a graduate from the University of Memphis and has a degree through the Tennessee Bar as a certified high-powered paralegal. So impressive. And right now she's with us from Paris, or from a small town in France, where she's attending a very impressive conference she's going to tell us a little bit about in a few minutes. But I want to welcome all of you and let you know how excited that I am to have you on the show. And we're going to get started with the first question that I ask everyone, which is, how did you get kind of connected with the real estate industry? And then what does your business and your role entail? And I'm going to start with you, Stacy.
Okay, thanks, Teresa. I'm delighted to be here. I started, like a lot of us, in 2004 as a realtor and had an opportunity to do a lot of new construction, which was, booming at the time, and worked with a lot of first-time home buyers, which are still near and dear to my heart. And then after about 4 years of selling real estate, moved into a corporate position and have done a lot of different things for the company over the years, which I've really enjoyed. But ultimately, today I get to support our agents and build relationships, which I love. It is what I think sets us apart in the world of realtors, being able to do that. And I work closely with our operations, our admins team, our marketing team, and we all share a common goal, again, on how to improve our service to the agents to ultimately serve the community we serve. So it's a great opportunity.
And I know that you had a marketing degree as well. So I know, and you came from the relocation side too, because I think you started and worked in that too.
Did.
And that is a common factor that I always talk about that a lot of us have that are now, that have elevated to different
Yeah.
roles. And I
Yeah.
think that's really kind of like a trend I've seen a lot. How
Mhm.
about you, Dionne? How'd you get into the real estate side of it and the lending side as well?
Yeah, no, it's funny that you say that. And by the way, I do have my cafecito aquí. Thank you.
Linda, qué
Um,
linda.
but it's funny you say that because I actually, prior to getting into real estate, I worked for a marketing firm as well. So it's kind of, I guess it goes hand in hand with what we're doing. And a lot of what I do is very parallel to what Stacy does as well for City. And so I actually got into the real estate industry being a realtor. So after my second child, I was like, okay, how can I have a job where I can really just create my own hours? And I became a real estate agent. And then as the market was starting to shift, I got recruited by a bank and went into the corporate world and kind of worked through that on the lending side. Obviously, 2009 hit, and it just has been my journey ever since. And I landed in this role through passion.
And I know that you have I love that you have your background, which is Japanese, right? Your mother was
No,
Japanese.
Chinese.
Chinese. Oh
Mm-hmm.
gosh. So you have that background as well as the fact that your husband also happens to be Latino. So your
Mm-hmm.
children are intersectional so that they're beautiful. And you have three. I just thought that was so unique. So you are a very busy person. And real estate really does help kind of manage our careers when we have small kids. I think that's really kind of why a lot of us get into it. How about you, Kathleen?
Well, I come from the San Francisco Bay Area, and my parents were with Frank Howard Allen, multi-million-dollar producers. I was never a realtor, but I handled the marketing and technology for the firm that they worked for. And so I naturally grew up in the industry, handling that side of the business. I moved to the Memphis area and got my law degree through the Tennessee Bar to go to court for attorneys. But life hands you some funny little curves. And when my daughter had an allergic reaction and got sick, I had to push my career aside and focus on my autistic daughter. I got back into marketing and technology with real estate, and the real estate community came behind me and supported what I was doing, which allowed me to work from home. And so I started building technology stacks that helped gain lead and business initiatives for realtors. And that's what brought me to where I am today. Is now my daughter, who's in her 20s. I am luckier than most. When you have an autistic daughter, you don't know if they're going to look at you. You don't know if they're going to talk to you. And through tons of physical therapy and education, she's in college getting straight A's and B's now. And I know I'm blessed. And so, she wanted to look at a home, and she wants to buy a home, and she wants 100 dogs, and, she's got goals. And so we went and started looking at listings online. And she went from joy to just pure frustration. And I said, what is going on? And she says, I don't understand what this is. She couldn't understand the content of the listings. And then I realized that there was a need. There was a need for people with limitations, whether it's neurodiversity, hearing, visual, and to have for us to provide to the agents that are technology that they can easily adopt, that looks cool, and get some bit more business because people with disabilities want to buy homes. That also helps young adults like my daughter break down the barriers to home ownership.
I think that's so beautiful.
I
Really
love
is.
that.
It's amazing.
I know.
Thank
And
you.
also the fact that it really helps us as realtors, help through the Fair Housing Act, right? Which we just celebrated Fair Housing Month, and making sure that everyone is served that is interested and wants to have home ownership, which is the most beautiful thing there is. And just pivoting, Stacy, I want to just really talk about you, about home services and the work that you're doing, because I've been impressed with all that you've been involved with, and you've actually invited me to come and speak to your company. And each one of you is unique in the way that you are really championing diversity initiatives. And for you, Stacy, I know that's a big part of your role. You, like I said, had me come out and talk, to your diversity council. Tell me about that. Tell me why you're so passionate about it.
I just am a firm believer that surrounding yourself with different types of people takes you places you never could have even imagined that you wanted to go or be a part of. And I'm so grateful for that, for having had the opportunity. I think it was back in 2016 when Home Services first identified an opportunity in our diversity landscape as an entire company. I was a group with, I think, 4 other people nationwide that came together, and we researched the opportunities that were out there in the real estate industry, and it was eye-opening. And really exciting. I came from a small town that was not very diverse and went to a college that wasn't very diverse. And so I needed that experience, and it catapulted me into a new life again that I couldn't have imagined. What great people would be on the other side for me to be a part of. So that opportunity with Home Services was great. We, as a company and across the nation, Home Services did things like a diversity gap analysis, looking at your population, your community you serve, your agents, your employees, your clients, and finding where the holes were, and identifying the things they needed and ways to serve them, ways to better prepare ourselves. Katie, the things that she's going to share today are so exciting for this. It's amazing because there continue to be opportunities. So having an ear to the ground continues to be important. We as a company decided to put together our own DEI group. We call it RISE. It stands for Realizing Inclusion Strengthens Everyone. And I love that. It's open to everybody. And it's developed a lot of great ideas. Again, just surrounding yourself with people who think differently, have different experiences that they bring to the table. It just is awesome and takes you to places you never thought you could go. So at our local board, I'm really excited because about a year ago, we made a push, a group of us, to really push our local board to translate their contracts into other languages. I cannot imagine, as someone with a disability or a language barrier, having to sit with someone and have something translated that's the largest investment most likely of my life, that's going to provide safety and security for my family, and not feeling 100% confident about what it said. So we made a big push, and I'm really pleased with our local board for come forward and provide those contracts that are available to our community and consumers and agents. And they've been well accepted and used, which I think is really wonderful. And just the tip of the iceberg on what we need to do and what's to come. Our marketing department's done a great job of flexing their style and making things available in other languages, French and Spanish and so on. And again, there's more we need to do, but we're walking the path to get to where we want to go and to serve the people that we know need what we have to offer.
Yeah. And I could not, I mean, that is just such a great insight, as well as to drive those initiatives on the MLS on your, with your board, because that's where it begins, and also those languages. And I just, I love that, because as Dionne, I'm a pivot to you, like just and that's can be very daunting too, because in the AAPI community, and I'm going to talk to you, Dionne, about that background, because I found that so passionate, and so I love, learning. That can be a challenge too, because there's so many languages and accents. So tell me about the work that you do at City, and also with the, fair housing with the AAPI, because I know last couple of years there's been a lot of Asian hate that also has impacted that community.
Yeah, no, thank you, Teresa, for bringing that up. So I'm excited to be part of this discussion because one, I come from a firm that a woman is leading the charge, Jane Fraser as CEO, and I think she's breaking the glass ceiling, if you will, for the financial industry. But from an AAPI perspective, we have our head of global banking, which is Ida Liu. She's Chinese Asian American as well, and she likes to call it breaking the bamboo ceiling. But what I do is critical for a couple of reasons. Right now, as women, as we lead and we continue to, change the narrative and elevate each other. For AAPI, only about 2% of Asians are CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. And so there's still a lot of work that needs to be done to show diversity across the board. And then I would say, secondly, coming from a global firm, we've always been an innovator of economic progress and sustainability, and always wanting to be a part of the dialogue for underserved and underprivileged communities. So what I do is manage diverse relationships. And actually, I met you through ARIA, but I think our true connection was when you were national president for NAREP, the National Association of Hispanic Professionals. And so working with these diverse realtors, I think, is critical. And that's a lot of the work that we do, because we're able to mobilize in the markets with the realtors who work with the consumers. They understand the nuances. They understand, is there a language barrier? What are the needs for the first-time home buyer? Is there an inventory issue? And working with the realtors, we can understand that and better serve them. And so I think, through education, it doesn't matter. The way I see it, it doesn't matter what you're seeing on the news, right? It doesn't matter the hardships that you have. It doesn't matter. And everybody thinks, oh, but I don't have credit. What we instill in strategic markets here at Citi is making sure that you have the opportunity for what we call the American dream. Everybody can have the opportunity to own a home. It's just understanding how to get there. And a lot of that work is through what Stacy is doing and Katie. And it's just great to hear that we're actually starting to move the needle. And so from the AAPI perspective, as you know, my mom is Chinese. And so it's really interesting that I have been a part of, back in 2015, under the leadership of Vicky Silvano, the No Weather campaign. I don't think anybody realized that Asian was not part of the quarterly US Census Bureau. And so we went to DC and we fought to have a box, because there's no way, right, for AAPI, there's that stigma of crazy rich Asians, but there are groups and culture that where, there's undertakings that we have to know about the data to better understand how to serve our community.
And I thought that was an incredible, you have no idea, to change the law. Totally. ARIA was very significant under Vicky's, but not in your, all of the AAPI community coming together and saying, we need this change so that we really know our numbers, because otherwise, how are we going to improve upon them? And there's different pockets, like you were saying, the Filipino, the Vietnamese community, all of them, depending on where they live, where we kind of need to know what's that number and how we can improve upon it. So thank you for all that you do at Citi, as well as with ARIA, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few. But I also want to jump to Kathleen, because I think the work you're doing is incredible. And right now you are in the Paris, or where are you? How far is it from Paris?
So I'm in the south of France, in Sophia Antipolis. Currently, I am it's the W3C advisory committee meetings. That's where one person from head of companies like Google or Apple get to attend. And I have a little bit of a surprise announcement.
I'd love to hear it. And before you do, though, I want to hear about your technology, because it is very eye-opening and very helpful. And you talked a little bit when you first introduced yourself, but I know your backdrop kind of explains a little bit about that phenomenal technology. So tell me more about that, and what impact has that had, especially for your daughter and all the others that have language needs?
So yeah, my background, this is actually what the application looks like. So when an agent turns on their ADA multilingual compliance software for their real estate listings, it will auto populate in through AI and Chat GPT a full description of the real estate listings. They can log in and add their own voice and their own inflection and a deeper dive description. But on the output, when they share it with their social networks or their distribution channels, it looks like this cool little Spotify experience with the house, with the photos, with the audio, with the closed captioning. And then the consumers can pick from any language, and these are quite proficient language libraries, and they can listen to a full deep dive description of the properties in their own language. So if the person speaking another language, it's one thing to have the language barrier when trying to gain home ownership. It's another layer to have the language barrier and have a disability. And so what this does is we tried to make our technology, and one of the things about the W3C is we try to make technology for people with disabilities be also very cool and fun, whether you're able or disabled. It shouldn't be in a box just for people with disabilities. And as we know, our young buyer set, they love the cool Spotify look. They like to listen in different languages. They love closed captioning. And so it's been received huge by the public. And the response has been great. The agents are loving it. They get a little lead gen with their name and their information. So it satisfies them. The market for people who have disabilities that are buying homes is huge. It is absolutely huge, multilingual as well. So, to be able to, as an agent, tap comfortably into that audience and serve that audience, just doing what I do every day, uploading my listings to MLS and then creating a Do Audio Tours account and then just turning on the automation, you're a hero in the industry because you've now expanded your technology.
And it's so true. And we're excited because that is something Home Services has picked up, as well as Berkshire Hathaway Home Services is going to make available to every one of our agents across the country, which is so exciting, so that they can actually adapt that, adopt it into their own systems and their voices, and really be able to really get a new audience of customers. And I know, again, you said a little bit about a sneak peek about the announcement. Just tell us real quickly what that announcement is.
So I have been conversing with the W3C for a long time now, and they have now announced that they are opening up a real estate interest group, and they have made me the chair of that group. So this is being put in place for leaders in the real estate community to collaborate with other W3C members and participants and be active in decisions and implement proper web access ability needs as they become regulatory. So as you know, they make it into law. These are the regulations. And so they want us as a real estate community and the leaders to be actively engaged in the best practices as we make these laws and regulations. So I'm super excited. Me and the gentleman who's in charge of global, we have 42 countries involved right now. And Jay Allen Bird and myself are going to be sending out packages to anyone who's interested, or they can always contact me directly, who would like to be part of this real estate interest group.
I think that is unbelievable, Kathy. Congratulations. How exciting, number one, to have a voice at the table, because typically laws are made without anybody coming in and saying, wait a minute, A, B, C has to equal, right? D, because if you don't do all these pieces, it's not going to work. Don't just make A, C, and D though. We forgot the middle part, that's going to make all that happen. So congratulations.
It's so important because Berkshire Hathaway, incredible, and your technology team sees things coming that they're going to need to get advice on, and that we can also turn into regulations, which will help move the industry forward, and other great leaders of other industry technology companies.
I love it. Thank you so much. Katie. That's
Thank
really
you.
exciting. And so I know for the rest, we go into some personal questions now. So for you, Stacy, what has been the biggest personal or professional challenge you've had to overcome? Whether and let me know what that has affected you and what you've learned from it.
That's a tough question. I really think that in this society, being a female leader is not for the faint of heart. We juggle a lot, we manage a lot. I know we'll talk about that later, but I'm really grateful I've had a lot of people along the way to be cheerleaders and supporters, and could never do any of it alone. I think one of the biggest challenges, I guess, is finding a voice. I think as a woman, I learned from my mom, it's important to be a chameleon and flex your style, if you will, to who you're talking to and working with. And sometimes that's hard to do in a leadership role, because sometimes you have to say or do things in a certain way that may not be the way you want to say it. And so finding a way to be flexible and yet maintain an approachable stance and a partnership mentality, it's just a challenge. So I'm going to leave it at communication. I think there's a lot that women have to think about before they speak, that men don't have the same challenges with, or at least that's not my experience. And so, yeah, that can just be a tough thing, but I choose to trust in positive intentions in everything that I do, and hope that the people I surround myself with think the same thing. So
I think that's amazing. I love the chameleon, because we
Yeah.
have to kind of disguise ourselves or
Yeah.
become, depending on who we're talking to and
Yeah.
how we're approaching them, whether it's a realtor, employee,
Yeah.
trade organization that we're
Yeah.
working with. So I think that's really very insightful.
Thank
Dionne, how about you?
Yeah, I would say, when you asked about, I would say personally, one of the biggest challenges that I had to overcome was explaining to my daughters at this day and age that racism is real, because you had mentioned the impact of COVID and how it affected the hate crimes that were happening. And before even the masks were mandated, I was in the grocery store and a woman was standing there, and I'm kind of walking around, and in short, she just goes, "I can't believe all the hand sanitizer's gone. This wouldn't be an issue if the Chinese weren't so dirty." And so in hindsight, you say, "Oh my gosh, I could have said this, I should have done this." But I think the part where I overcame was really my response and how I responded to her. I said, "My mom's Chinese and she's one of the cleanest people I know," and just went my way, but also explaining to my children about the dynamic and the history of what my mom has had to go through in order for them not to repeat it, and for them to lead and pave the way for themselves as girls, and for the future.
Oh, like, because you've heard so many people, especially when I was at ARIA events, they were scared to go to the grocery store or out because of all the violence that was, happening against them. And so,
Yeah, I was scared for my mom, which is the weirdest thing, like I know my mom, she immigrated here and she wasn't allowed to rent, but then my dad was able to, and he wasn't even qualified the same apartment. It just was like, there's so many nuances, but it's mind blowing that this day and age we're going through this kind of stuff.
Totally agree. And so sorry that you had to experience that. And for you, Katie, I know that you have, had to do a lot of patents. You've had some really extraordinary in technology. I mean, typically is not, STEM is really not an area where you see a lot of women. So what challenges or things have you had to overcome?
Well, exactly that. There's a lot of perception and in the STEM that, it's more of a male dominated field. And I've learned to stop trying to constantly prove that I'm worthy. I've had to deal with what I call imposter syndrome. Because as women, we often well, for me, I second guess, do I deserve this? Did I really do this? And it's challenging. And so then I have a tendency to be a workaholic. And then I have to take myself back and go, I have to have a balance between life and my home and work. Because when you don't have the balance between your home and your work and your life, it actually affects your work. It affects the good that we're all doing to try to improve the world.
Wow. And that is something that we all, I mean, I've experienced as well. I mean, the same things that you identified. So I know a lot of women probably feel the same way. So thank you for sharing that. So what has taken any of you, and anybody that wants to just pipe in and say, this happened to me, what is something that you've done that has totally taken you out of your comfort zone, but you, after doing it, you thought, oh gosh, I'm so stronger for doing this. And where did it lead you? Anyone that wants to talk?
Well, being in France right now was definitely out of my comfort zone.
You and I talked about it before. You were like, I don't know why I was invited to this. I don't know, because it's such a huge group of, leaders that are there with some of the most impressive companies that we know of.
I'm a graduate of University of Memphis. The company I'm keeping at the moment are some of the top scholars in the industry. The gentleman, Tim Lee, who invented the World Wide Web, spoke today, and I got to meet him. So this is way out of my comfort zone. But once you're immersed out of your comfort zone, you just got to be positive and go, I'm here for a reason. And that proved to be very true.
Oh, obviously you wouldn't have been tasked with that phenomenal position and opportunity if you just didn't match, or oversee what you already set out to do. So congratulations again. And so true. Anyone else?
I'll piggyback off of Katie's comments, just to say, putting yourself around people that maybe you wouldn't normally, again, opens you up to experiences or conversations. And I think being willing to ask not tough questions, but questions and want candid feedback, whether it's good or bad, and to probe a little deeper, just can take you places that will make you stronger because you were willing to listen or willing to talk to people about something that might not be your same perspective or what makes you comfortable or what you're used to. And so I try to challenge myself to have conversations with people that would be outside of either my normal comfort zone or just asking questions that I know might not be an answer I want to hear. But I might need to hear it, or we might need to hear it, and then, go to work on how do we put something better in place. But yeah, surrounding yourself with different people and asking some tough questions can be enlightening.
I love that. I love that answer. It's so true, because for me, for example, I surround myself with super, super high intellectuals. I've always been attracted to people like that, and also people that have way more money than I do. And I'm like, how did I get mixed in with these individuals? But you learn from it. And here's an example. Like, first time I met Alan Dalton, it was like, and he's like one of my best friends now, because I just love hearing him. Even though every once in a while I'll say something, he'll go, oh, that's very genius. And I'm like, why, are you surprised? I said, I'm learning from you. So anyway, so let's talk about women supporting women. So who are some of the most inspirational women you've met that have benefited your career or have lifted you up when you needed it most? I'll start with you, Dionne.
So I know this might sound cliche, but honestly, the most inspirational woman, and I still say to this day, I want to, as I get older, I want to be her, is my mom. She has really been the foundation and the rock for everything that I've done. And she always said to me when I was younger and even into adulthood, if there's a will, there's a way. And that has always been her motto. So like, if you come across a struggle or a challenge, or you, as Katie, you start to doubt yourself, you have to know your value. You have to know what you bring to the table. You have to know that there's always a solution. You might have to think outside of the box. It might not be norm, but there's always a solution, and to try to work towards that.
Wow, was my family's motto. If there's a will, there's a way. I'm so connected with you right now because it's so true. And it is. Your mother came from China. I mean, do people, I always say, do you realize that whole thing just in itself, not knowing the language, coming to a foreign country where you didn't necessarily have friends, and then starting up a business or being successful is just, it always really inspires me. It really does. So again, kudos. I hope your mom is watching you. How about you, Stacy?
Okay, I'm going to copy Dionne, but my mom's on my list. She is the ultimate relationship builder, and she does it the most organic and fairy godmother-ish way because she's just so kind-hearted. And she really showed me how to love people really big without expectation of return back. And that translates really well into this service-based industry when you're working with clients, when you're working with agents, when you're working with other employees, your peers, whoever. I think it really makes a difference. And she certainly showed me the way. I'll also add my dad was a basketball coach for 30 years maybe. And he ended every practice, every game with something really similar to what you all said. It was the will to win cannot be beat. And he would say it all the time. The will to win cannot be beat, and just perseverance, stay at it. So I'm very blessed to have two very active and involved parents at home that showed me the way. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Katie?
Oh, I love these stories. So, Mom, I'm sorry, but she is my inspiration. But truly, I will tell you, it is my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Because I watched her fight to become independent. I watched it when people were trying to make it easier on her. She pushed back and she said, I want to do this. Mm-hmm. I want to do this on my own. And she taught me to just be strong and, pursue and conquer and do your best. And it's okay if you don't always succeed. She is an inspiration to myself. She is an inspiration to our family.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And I'm sure it has helped to have you as a mother, because you really helped her develop. And I say this because we are celebrating Mother's Day on Sunday, and I want to thank you all, because I know you are all mothers, and that fact that you have your mothers as well to thank for their leadership, and also for instilling the principles and morals that you all have is something that we can't take for granted. So absolutely, happy Mother's Day to all of our mothers out there. And that goes into the next question, because I know many of our realtors, many of our viewers struggle. We have a lot of young viewers with the balancing of small children. And I know real estate really kind of offers that opportunity, but it can also be very daunting because real estate agents work 24/7, so how have y'all been able, to manage and be able to lead in your roles with small children? And I'll jump at you, Dionne, because you do have children that are small still in the house, and we talk about it all the time, maneuvering and getting them to and from locations. And you were at a game, I think, last night when I reached out to you.
Yes. No, I think the key word is balance. I think that's critical. One, you have to, look at the position you're in now and prioritize your time in a way that it's going to provide you balance. And so you have to do something that you love. You can't just show up to a job and, feel like, you're there and it drains you. And when you're home, you're not happy at home and giving your best self. They say, when you show up show up and be your best self. Well, it isn't fair to the family if you're giving 110% at work. You're on these Zoom meetings, you're pushing, you're thriving through, and by the end of the day, your gas tank is at empty and your family gets cheated of your energy and your time. So making sure whatever it is you decide to do in your career, that you prioritize your time and your balance, and really self-reflection, I think, is huge. Understanding, what is your personal roadmap? I do have, 2 kids that are, one is going into high school, but so 2 in high school and 1 in elementary. And you could call my husband the 4th child, if you will, but it's important, that you make yourself available so that, you push forward and you're able to have the family and that you want. Because I think in essence, it's not a job, but it's also something that you've committed to.
I think that's beautiful. How about you, Stacy?
I gave myself permission a long time ago to be successful at both. I don't think you have to choose. I don't think you have to choose to be a great mom or a great entrepreneur or a great leader. I really believe you can do it all. I really do. I think that takes authenticity. I think sometimes it takes admitting that you can't do it all today. I think sometimes it means asking for help. I'm not good at that. I don't like it. I want to help everyone else. But I know that there are times when I need it. And so being willing to risk not looking as, buttoned up or polished as I might want to be, but asking for help. And again, giving myself permission to know it's okay. And I made that choice because of my kids. And I didn't want them to grow up thinking that it had to be perfect all the time. And so we spend a lot of time apologizing to each other, having candid conversations, talking about real things. And they're 11 and 13, Bo and Abby. And I want them to know that they can have it all. They can do it all, but they have to choose the people they surround themselves with. I'm really grateful to have a wonderful partner. My husband, Brian, could not do the things I do without him. My parents are involved, great friends. It's a network and just a support group that I hope I offer as much to in return as I get. But it's that permission to be great at both. It's okay. And everything's seasonal. I will say that. Sometimes life is tough and I try to chunk it into seasons. It won't be this tough forever, and just get through.
I think that Gino said it best. We all have our, the things that that when you say it's not going to be this way forever, tomorrow's going to be easier and easier and easier.
Yeah.
And Katie, you've already shared a lot about your daughter but do you have any more children? Is that your only child, or how have you got?
No, I have 3 young adults, two more boys. One is 29 and one is 24, finding their way through this world. My oldest actually lives in Shanghai and does international business for companies because he's graduated from the University of Beijing.
That's awesome.
Yes. You know what I love, Teresa, is the one good thing the pandemic brought was we all these Zoom meetings. And these people that we just looked at as in suits and very professional, all of a sudden their kids and their dogs and everyone is behind them. And we got to know each other on a personal level. That took a lot of stress out of the business relationship and a lot of humanity and understanding that, even though we're at work, we do have a home life that is we have to be accountable for and we have to be present in. So
I think that you're 100% correct, because Zoom and COVID actually allowed us to see ourselves in our own homes, for people to see, this is my home. I have a dog, he's barking right now. These are my real true lives. And I think it became gave us more humanity, because we are able to now connect inside the house where we live, or our space. And be able to not have to take that time away from family that we would normally have driving to a location. So I think that's why you see the younger generation today saying, I want to be remote because this is such a great way of life. So I think that's why a lot of companies have said, okay, we got to change our policies so that we can really give that work-life balance back to people. So I couldn't agree with you more. So as we look back, with a sentence, if y'all can tell us, what advice have you gotten, or would you give your younger self, or you would give others about career paths and leadership, that you think was very helpful to you? And I'll start with you, Katie.
Oh, you never make mistakes. Everything you do is you learn how to correct and maneuver, and time takes care of everything. Work hard, do what you're passionate about. My father always said to me, if you're passionate about flipping hamburgers at McDonald's, do that, because your life will be successful. Success is not about making a ton of money. Success is about personal happiness and personal wealth.
I think that's so nice, because I have seen some of the happiest people, working in as janitors, or working, because they love what they do and they're really good at it. And I don't know, I'm at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, and the people that work in that clean the stalls there, they're always so happy, and I always tip them and hit the little that little fun face as you walk out, saying this bathroom was so clean and the person there was so helpful, because they were obviously passionate, no matter what it was, right? Whatever their job was, they were passionate with it. How
Yes.
about you, Stacy?
I would really say do the simple things consistently, whatever it is. Because I think consistency is a really big key to anything, whether you want to lose weight, be successful, run a marathon, date somebody, be there, be consistent. And I think it makes a big difference, and that you don't have to be in 100% all the time. But if you do the simple things consistently, you're going to get the same result. I really believe that.
Oh, I could not agree with you more. Dionne, how about you?
Yeah, along the lines of what Katie said, I wouldn't change anything, quite honestly, because I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't go through the challenges and the path that I went through. But pretty much what Stacy said earlier, if any advice, be your true, authentic self. I think, that sign of, what you're bringing to the table, and vulnerability is important. And I would say, if there was any advice, it's never too late. Right? If somebody's like, oh, I don't know if I should or not, don't doubt yourself. It's never too late. You look at Vera Wang as an example. She didn't start till she was 40 years old and become a world-renowned, clothing designer. So do what you want to do in order to be happy. And I think that's important.
Oh, I think so too. And one of the things that I want to ask all of you, because our audiences really love books, they love taking courses. So, we all strive to get better. What is, have you found something you want to share with our audience, a book or a course that you took that you felt was so meaningful, it's meant a lot to you, that you'd like to pass along to our audience? And Katie, I'll start with you.
Okay. Can I do two really quick?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I watch master classes, and I suggest everyone sign up and do it. You've got everyone from Jane Goodall to RuPaul to Chris Voss, who teaches the art of negotiation. And there's so much knowledge. It's fun, it's entertaining, and it's great. So for people that are video enhanced, great way to gain knowledge. For those that love a good book, this is something I've liked since my 20s. The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. She demonstrates the rationality of racism through the publication. And it's a phenomenal book.
It's also a great movie, by the way. So I'm a movie watcher. Y'all know that out in the audience. And The Secret Life of Bees is one of my favorites. All right, Stacy, I'm going to go to you next.
Yeah, my favorite. It's a tiny little book. It's called The Go-Giver. It reads like a fable, a little parable story. I think it's wonderful. It's by Bob Berg. It's all about building relationships and connecting with people. And it's a great book if you don't like to read. I won't say if I like to read or not, but if you don't like to read, it's a great book because it's short and sweet and very to the point and very applicable, because you just follow this man's little journey. So I love that.
It's also on Audible, by the way.
It is. Yes.
And it is one of my favorites too, Stacy. So I have similar loves. How about Dionne?
I'm so glad that you mentioned reading or video because I'm more a video person, although I read. So I'm good to know that there is a movie about the secret life of the bee. But I took a course that was called Storytelling with Data. And it's not technically, what you think when you think data, you think it analytics or things of that, but it's really about this particular course was talking about how you resonate with people, your response. You can't expect somebody to know what you're thinking just by you saying it, how to be proactive, and honestly, it's a course that I could see myself taking every 6 months to a year, because it's like a refresher to take a step back and say, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, let me reevaluate. Let me think through what's an effective way to respond, or what's the inflection in the voice. And so that is one I really enjoy.
So is that one that's available through?
I don't know the company name, but I will get it for you.
I think that's amazing. I may want to do that one because I'm the worst when it comes to data. I'm really passionate about storytelling, but when it comes to throwing that data in there, and for a lot of people, whatever your mind is, like my husband's it was an engineer and he had to have data. Give me the data. It's important for me to determine what I need to do. And I think that sounds like a really interesting way.
Yeah, when you do presentations, you present it in a way that you understand it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that your audience is going to get it. And so it's really, really interesting.
I love that. Well, I can't believe it. We are almost done. We always end with one question. And that question, I've had so much fun, and I got getting to know all of you. But one of the questions that we always ask is, what is your favorite quote or affirmation that resonates with you and that you'll want to share with our audience? Because I love quotes. Everyone knows that. I get inspired all the time by that. So I'm going to start with you, Katie, and move with Dionne next and end it with Stacy.
Oh boy. I can't remember who wrote it, but it's love thyself, not thy idol. And I think it's just something that is
I love that.
very
And that's a Bible verse, by the way. So that's absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Not love thyself, not your idol, right? I think that's really nice. Dionne?
Mine is from Oprah Winfrey. You are where you are in life because of what you believe is possible for yourself.
Oh, and she's one of my favorites too, from Mississippi. And so that's where I grew up. And I love Oprah. I will watch her, and also her quotes are just phenomenal. I think that's a very special one. Dionne, thank you so much for sharing that. And then Stacy, we're going to leave it with you.
At our company, we say who you're with matters. And I believe that to my core, and my personal and my professional life. It's simple. I think it means a lot. And I think it describes an environment and a culture of authenticity and kindness that we hope transcends from, here out. And so I love that. Who you're with matters. And you guys have been wonderful to be with.
I love that. I think it's so true. I've been very fortunate because within our organization, we have so many brilliant minds. And I think every time I'm with all of you, right, we are able to just expand our own intellectual minds and really gain brain power. So thank you all for joining us. I really do appreciate it, and really helping us to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in your organizations. I think that is number one. And for me, it's really important. And I really found a great quote that describes the work each of you are doing. And I thought this one was really good. The only way that we can live is if we grow. The only way we can grow is if we change. And the only way we can change is that if we learn. The only way we can learn is if we are exposed. And the only way that we're exposed is if we throw ourselves into the open and allow change to happen. I think that is it's a beautiful quote, right? It has a lot of pieces to it. So I really want to thank our audience today also for joining us and for participating with these phenomenal women leaders, and for our cafecito in our conversation. So thank you again. And, we will be doing this same great show. So join us on June 7th, right here on this channel, when we zoom in on another team of great leaders. Again, thank you. Don't forget to listen to our podcast. This series will come into the womenwholeadseries.com. Join our Facebook page, share our episodes, and like our YouTube channel. And remember my saying, I love this. Always bring other women up the ladder with you as you climb to the top. Bye-bye, everyone. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.